Hey, dreamers, welcome back to your Dream Coach podcast. I'm Shayla Wey. I'm a small business coach, growth strategist, and believer that your dream life starts the moment you lead like you mean it. Well, this podcast is all about leadership, fulfillment, and growth because I have found that when you learn to lead yourself and others, you don't just build a business, you build a life that feels deeply aligned with who you are and what matters most. So today I'm diving into one of the biggest mindset shifts every great leader has to make at some point, moving from managing tasks to inspiring people. This one's for the business owners, the team leaders, and entrepreneurs who feel like they're always busy, but not always impactful. Maybe you've built a great team, but you find yourself stuck in the weeds, chasing checklists instead of casting vision. Or maybe you've noticed that even though things get done, your people aren't fully lit up by the work they're doing. I've been there, and I've worked with hundreds of leaders who've been there too. And what I found is that when you make this one leadership shift from managing tasks to inspiring people, everything changes. Your energy changes, your team's engagement changes, your results change, and ultimately your fulfillment skyrockets. So today we're going to talk about what that shift really looks like, why most people struggle to make it, and how to lead in a way that truly brings out the best in others and yourself. And before we dive in, don't forget, if you haven't already done so, join the LFG Business Academy on School. It's completely free and packed with tools, resources, and community for small business owners and leaders who want more confidence, clarity, and impact. You can find the link in the show notes, but let's dive into today's episode. And I want to dive into the shift that really changes everything. So, what I have learned is that most people who are managers never meant to be managers. And so, the difference between managing and leading really is most managers started out as doers. They were really great at the work, they got promoted, or started a business and suddenly found themselves leading others. But managing and leading are two completely different skill sets. Managing is about tasks, systems, and control. Leading is about vision, trust, and inspiration. Managers make sure things get done. Leaders make sure people want to do them. Both matter. But when you spend too much time really in management mode, your business plateaus because people really don't want to be managed. They want to be moved. And that's the heart of leadership. It's about bringing meaning to the work, not just motion. And leadership is really about energy. It's not just about execution. And so what I have found is that the best leaders are the ones with the most experience, but they're also the ones with the most energy. And by energy, I don't mean hype. I mean presence. That grounded, contagious, I believe in this energy that makes people want to follow you even when things are hard. Because when you shift from managing to inspiring, your energy stops being transactional and start being more transformational. So instead of saying, here's what needs to get done, you start focusing on, here's why this matters. And that one little shift from direction to inspiration changes everything. Your team really stops working for you and starts working with you. You move from pushing people to pulling them forward. And the truth is, people don't burn out because of hard work. They often burn out because of a lack of meaning. So when you connect their work to purpose, you reignite that meaning, that leadership energy in action. Now, here's the part a lot of leaders resist, and that's inspiring people is going to require a lot of trust. Managing is safe. You control the process, the outcome, the timing, but leading, that requires letting go. And it means trusting your team to take ownership, make decisions, and sometimes, make mistakes. And what I've learned is that when leaders micromanage, it's rarely about the team's capability, and it's about the leader's fear. Fear of losing control, fear of things not being perfect, fear of being disappointed. But the irony is that the tighter you grip, the less your team grows. So inspiration thrives in empowerment, not control. When people feel trusted, they step up, they think bigger, and they take initiative. And that's how you build leaders within your business, not just employees. So if you want to inspire, start with that trust. Now, I want to talk about one of the biggest barriers to inspiration: confusion. Clarity creates confidence. But what most people don't realize is that when people don't know what's expected, they really can't feel inspired. They start to feel anxious. And what I've learned is that many leaders think they've communicated clearly, but they haven't. And clarity isn't about dumping information, it's about alignment. So when you're leading people, your job isn't just to give them more to do, it's to make sure they understand what they're doing and really why it matters. Really, really why it matters. Because clear direction breeds confidence, and confident people perform better. So it's not the number of tasks you delegate, it's the clarity of the vision that you cast. And inspiration thrives when people know where they're going, but also why it matters. I often say to coaching clients when we hit these windows of leadership where we're feeling a little bit stagnant is, well, let's take a step back and really look at what is it we really want, whether it's in the business and our team and those results, and then taking that a step further in why do we want that, and then how are we going to make that happen. There's a few other key pieces besides the what that helps really lead a team to the next level. And one of the most powerful shifts that I've seen in leadership is when feedback becomes a form of care instead of criticism. Because feedback is fuel, it's not friction, as long as we're doing it the right way. Because managers often avoid hard conversations because they don't want to hurt feelings or really create tension. But what I have found is that the best leaders understand that feedback is leadership. And it's really how we guide people toward their potential. So when you give feedback with empathy and intention, you're not just correcting performance, you're developing confidence. So when you avoid it, you don't spare their feelings, you stunt their growth. So inspiring leaders don't shy away from feedback. They see this as a chance to coach, to mentor, and to connect. And the way you deliver it calmly, clearly, and with belief in their potential, that determines whether it lands as criticism or empowerment. Another key difference between managing and inspiring is that managers focus on getting the job done and leaders focus on growing the people doing the job. So this is the idea of empowerment over execution. And what I've learned is that when you invest in your people's growth, your business scales naturally. You stop being the bottleneck because you've built others to lead beside you. And empowerment isn't just about giving people all the answers. It's about teaching them how to find those answers themselves. And when you create that kind of ownership culture, you stop chasing motivation and it becomes self-sustaining. So empowered people perform better, they stay longer, and innovate more. And that's how leaders build freedom, both for themselves and for their team. And so let's talk about fulfillment, because this, I believe, is where the magic really happens. Leading with heart creates fulfillment. And I love working with leaders where I can really genuinely feel that they are leading their businesses and their teams from their heart. I always say when you really tap into that, the financial part always follows. Because what I've learned is that both in my own journey and through coaching others, is that the most fulfilled leaders aren't the ones always doing the most. They're the ones leading from the heart. So when you move from managing to inspiring, you reconnect to why you started in the first place. You stop chasing to-do lists and you start creating impact. And you see your team not just as employees, but as humans with dreams, strengths, and stories. And when you lead from that place with heart, curiosity, and compassion, you don't just get results, you get respect. And that's what fulfillment looks like in leadership. Is growth comes when you stop being the hero. And there's one thing that I've definitely learned is that the best leaders stop trying to be the hero. They build other heroes. And that is the ultimate, I believe, level of leadership. When you're managing, it does become easy to become the center of everything. The problem fixer, the decision maker, the fixer. Well, that's not leadership, that's control. And real growth happens when you build people who can think, decide, and lead without you. When you move from how can I do more to how can I develop more leaders, your business scales, your energy expands, and your impact multiplies. That's the leadership shift that truly changes everything. And so here's what I found, dreamers, is that when you move from managing tasks to inspiring people, you unlock the next level, not just for your team, but for yourself. You stop leading from pressure and you start leading from purpose because you create a culture that runs on trust, energy, and growth. And most importantly, you build something that feels good, not just something that looks good. And that's what true leadership is about. So if today's episode hit home for you, and if you're ready to make that leadership shift, I'd love for you to join the LFG Business Academy on School. Okay, you can join through the link in the show notes, and I'd love to see you inside. Thank you again, as always, for tuning in today. If today's episode inspired you, share it with another leader or business owner who's ready to grow beyond management and step into true leadership. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with me on Instagram at Shayla Wey Coaching. I love hearing how these conversations are impacting your growth journey. And remember, because your dream life starts the way you lead, the way you live, and the way you grow. I'll see you next time on your Dream Coach podcast.